Hi everyone, I am Daniel Toro from Colombia. I am part of Simbiosis. We are a collective that works with science, art, and education. And we are so thrilled to be reading one of your CCTA plays because we love that initiative and we hope that we can work together someday in the near future. Meanwhile, I will be staying at home, being safe, taking care of me, my family, taking care of everyone. So, here it goes. Today I will be reading A Letter from the Ocean by Caridad Svich. I think this is a great text, so I am honored to be sharing it with you. A Letter from the Ocean by Caridad Svich. What you have to remember is that there was nothing then, in the sense that there were no real amenities. Everything had to be done by hand, and the few machines that had been invented were rudimentary at best. All you had were your wits and what you had read. If you had read anything, it took a lot of doing, someone said, to make anything happen. And sometimes the doing had to be done by candlelight, and at other times by the glow of a small lantern. There was cooking involved too. Before you say anything, know this. Cooking is an ancient art. It holds some secrets. The hut was more than a hut then. It was what some called a cabin, and even though it was in the middle of the woods, it had something of a reputation. Meetings were held in this hut. Most of them had to do with civil liberties and progress, even though, yes, poetry was discussed too. There's this myth that had nothing much got done back then, and the hut like this was merely an excuse for some people to gather together and amuse themselves by telling each other stories. But what you have to remember is this: the stories happened at the end of the day, after the work got done, after everything. The real work in the hut happened before the stories were told. There was cooking and tending to the small garden out back, searching through the woods for new ingredients and new species, and yes, there were long walks where a great deal of reflection occurred about how one should live an honest life. Often there were encounters, except then the encounters were perhaps less plain because most people coming through these woods were running away from the worst conditions imaginable and had heard that the poet and the people that lived in this hut would provide food, shelter, and safe passage. And they were right. The poet and their people did offer these things in exchange for nothing. In exchange for nothing. Except maybe a little song or a story or maybe a new recipe. If you walk into this hut, you won't see it now, but over there used to be a shelf where all the little stories and songs and recipes were held in small makeshift books written by hand. And if you were to run your hands along the shelf, you could hear all the voices. Shall we talk to each other for a while? Shall we listen to our stories in exchange for nothing except to be here, just be here with each other? I've been thinking about what the world would be like now after I'd been in the hut. I've been thinking about how it was that we were able to recall the songs of those that had passed but couldn't make our songs last. A letter came from the ocean. It was addressed to the person that went away to the hut in the woods. To the person that went away to the hut in the woods. The letter was enclosed in a small envelope that smelled of lilac. I opened the seal carefully. It's not every day, after all, that the ocean writes you a letter. The paper was gossamer thin. The letter began, Dear person that went away to the hut in the woods while the world was on fire, I don't imagine that you know what you sound like, but from where I live, it sounds as if every word is a dandelion. I hadn't heard that word in a long time. just like I hadn't heard the words nectar, willow since you were 7 years of age. I miss those words. I like them better than block and cut and paste. But then again, you know that because you are here in the woods, in the hut people where a poet once lived and others too. And soon you will go back to your city and try to live your life again, and perhaps let go of some of your rage, and perhaps start to look at others with kindness. It's not easy, I know. I'm used to my rage too. It can be useful. It is a part of us, after all. Sometimes I rage so much that my waves destroy everything, and I think they will learn now. These humans will learn because they have brains, they have logic and reason, and they have this thing too called imagination. And with it, they can do so much good, and so much beauty, and so much music. And sometimes when I hear their songs, I can't help but get emotional. I'm a softie that way. I hope you can forgive me. I know being soft is not in fashion these days, but sometimes I can't help myself. Because sometimes, on certain days, when the light hits the sky a certain way, or I see someone walking along the beach, their eyes full of possibility, or some child is rescued in a peacekeeper's arms while bombs carry their city away, I think I'm in love. I really am. I love you all so much. Thank you guys. So that was my reading for A Letter from the Ocean by Caridad Svich. Thank you everyone for listening. And okay, we'll be in touch. I am Daniel Toro. I am an actor from Colombia and I am part of Symbiosis. Thank you for having us here.